Hi guys, Jess here. Today we're going to be making some plum chutney. I've had some fantastic plums off of my father-in-law's tree. They're absolutely beautiful. The colour in them is absolutely fantastic. I don't know whether you can see that, but they're this most gorgeous deep crimson red, and the flesh too is a beautiful orangey colour. And I want to try not to lose that. Often these plum chutney recipes are made with plums and apples and something else, you know, to bulk them out. But I want to make a plum jam recipe, plum chutney recipe, sorry, today that tries to keep the colour. I want to just use plums. I don't want to put any apples or anything else in there. I just want to use the plums and see if we can maintain this gorgeous vibrance. So it's all going to be very light flavours, you know, to try and keep that colour. I'm going to be using cider vinegar and all kind of light coloured ingredients to try and get away from that dark brown that most chutneys end up being. So I'm just finishing peeling these plums. I've got about 2 pounds of these fabulous, can you see that? The inside, that colour, that glorious sort of orangey pink colour that the flesh is. They're really strange. They're off of what, well, he bought the tree actually as a flowering cherry, I think, and it's ended up obviously not being that at all. It's a plum tree, and they're delicious plums, and they've got the most fantastic colour to them. So that's my 2 pounds of plums. So I'm just going to pop that over on the stove there, ready. So to that I'm going to add an onion. I'm just going to have a nice large onion, fairly finely chopped. We don't want huge lumps of onion in the chutney. So we'll skin that and we'll chop it finely. Of course you can use all. One wonderful thing about chutneys is you can stick all sorts of different things in them. But today we're going to try and keep that vibrance and try and see if we can come out with a purple colour for our chutney, which will look absolutely wonderful on the table. I hope it's going to taste good as well. But it will look absolutely wonderful on the table, especially at Christmas, I think, with the turkey. You know, purple is a very Christmassy colour, isn't it? So I think that, and of course for you guys in America, you've got Thanksgiving, where you also have turkey, and we only get ours once a year, but you have yours at Thanksgiving as well. So I think this would be lovely to serve up then. So there's our onion, roughly chopped. Just going to put that in with the plums. There we go. And then we're going to have the good old faithful. We're going to have some ginger in there, just to give it that kind of slightly oriental note, and it give it a bit of zing. Now the plums on their own are going to be a little bit sweet. Now I'm going to cut this ginger in relatively large slices because I want to try and get it out. I don't want to leave it in the chutney. It's not the idea. It's just in there to flavour it. So if I put it in reasonably large chunks, then the theory is I'll be able to fish it out when it comes to bottling time. So I think they're reasonably large pieces. I don't think I'm going to make them any smaller than that because it really will be fiddly to try and get them out otherwise. So in they go, and my old favourite, we're going to have a clove of garlic. Have to have garlic in everything, it seems. So we just crush that. That will stay in. So we'll just chop that up reasonably finely. Just run it down the centre and then chop it reasonably finely. Okay, without taking your fingers off, of course. There we are. That looks good. Okay, so we'll get that, and that can go in as well. So it's relatively simple chutney, isn't it? You don't have to do any pre-frying or anything like that. So there main ingredients. Oh, one more main ingredient. Let's have a few sultanas. And I think probably I am going to weigh them out. I'm getting a bit carried away with sultanas, so I think probably maybe 6 or 7 ounces for this 2 pounds of plums will probably be enough. So there we go. That's 2, 3. You know, I'm thinking we'll have 4 ounces. I reckon by eye, I would say 4 ounces. And obviously I'm going to put all these quantities, but just by eye, looking at the plums in there and looking at that, I should think that's more than plenty. So I'm going to put all these quantities on my blog, of course, so you'll be able to repeat the exercise. Now, the only other things to add: stick of cinnamon, very Christmassy, very Thanksgiving, very American actually. And I'll just break that into 3. Americans seem to love their cinnamon far more than we do here in the UK. I'm just going to break that cinnamon stick into 3. Okay, and then I'm going to add some cloves. Half a dozen I think would be more than enough. I'm not a big clove fan, to be honest with you, so I think I'll probably, but you just want that, first I want a bit of bite to this, and as there's no tart apple or anything, there's a few other flavours need to do it. So there's 4 cloves I'm going to stick in there. I hope I'll be able to find those before I bottle it. Probably not, but there we go. So that's that. And now with some nutmeg. I'm going to grate some nutmeg in there. I'll probably grate a little bit more nutmeg in there again when it's actually boiling away, you know. But I'm just going to grate a bit in there now, just to get it started. And I'll probably add some more later on. Nutmeg's very strong, I find it, so you don't need to add too much of this. But that, you know, that's a good grating's worth in there at the moment. It's great, these little jars of nutmeg, whole nutmeg, they come with their own little grater. Fantastic idea. So there we are. That's that. I will add a bit more of that. And last thing, I'm going to put a bit of heat in it, just to give it that little bit of pep. So there's 1 chilli here. I'm not going to put the whole thing in because that will be too much. I'm just going to take about 1 centimetre off, an inch off, sorry, more like an inch off. They're 2 centimetres off of a bird's eye chilli, and I'm just going to break it in 2 so as it opens up, so as the juice can get in there, and I'm just going to stick that in there. Okay, so that's it really, apart from the fact that we need a bit of liquid. That's the only thing, and the pickling liquid that I'm going to use is a nice, treat yourself to a decent cider vinegar, don't buy the cheap stuff, because you want to get that really nice flavour to it. You don't want anything harsh. So, and I think probably about a pint, I would say, is probably about right. If I can find my pints, he's roughly around here somewhere, I reckon. What have we got? That's half a litre. Is somewhere near there, half a litre. Just over half a litre will do me. That's it, lovely. So there we go. So about a pint, just over half a litre. And there we have it. Cheers. Pour that in. That all wants mixing around. There's a good old trusty wooden spoon. You see my beaten up, my chutney saucepan. You can see it's been through the walls, but I like that. It gives a bit of character to what you're doing. Wooden spoon. Just mix it around so as everything gets nicely in together. Okay. There we go, and then that wants to go on the heat. Leave that in there. Full heat, bring that to the boil, and boil that away for about, it's going to be about 45 minutes, I should think. And the good old test is going to be when we run the spoon through the bottom of the saucepan, and we can see that we've parted the chutney, and it just creeps back into the space, and that's when we know our chutney is just about right. So I'll come back to you when that's happened, and we'll have a look at the finished result, put it in some jars and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'll see you in about 45 minutes to an hour's time. Okay guys, bye. Hi guys, so I'm back after an hour, and my plum chutney has had all that time to be boiling down and to be thickening, and in there I've got the most gorgeous unctuous goo that I'm going to show you in a moment. But the keener minded of you and the more experienced cooks may have noticed my deliberate error in the first half of the video. I missed out one essential ingredient. Yep, you guessed it, that was the sugar. And in this chutney it really is the essential ingredient, because normally for chutneys you use a brown sugar of some description, either demerara or light brown, all the way through to the muscovado dark brown sugars, depending on the type of chutney you're going to make, to give it that rich depth that you're looking for. With this plum chutney, as I said earlier on, I want to keep that colour, that fantastic colour going, and therefore I've used plain white sugar so as it doesn't mask that beautiful purple colour. Now you might say, oh no, that's not very good, that's not going to give it much body, much flavour. Well, the plums do that. The natural sugars from the plums, as they render down, give that depth and body to the chutney, and believe me, it is absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to show you what I mean by the colour that we've managed to maintain. I'm just going to put a spot of it on this spoon rest, my old faithful spoon rest, and hopefully if I hold that up to the camera and just let it focus for you, okay, look at that fabulous colour that we've managed to obtain there. There aren't many chutneys that you can get that you can see that wonderful rich ruby red. And let's have a taste. That's wonderful. You've got the plum, the depth of the plum, and you've got the overtones of the cinnamon and the garlic coming through, and the bite of the ginger and the chilli. That is a real chutney to die for, and what a spectacle that's going to be on your Thanksgiving table with your turkey, or at Christmas with our turkey here in the UK. What a wonderful contrast of that beautiful yellow breast meat or white breast meat with that wonderful rich ruby red colour of that chutney. So guys, that's my plum chutney, and I will be making another plum recipe with the remainder of my father-in-law's plums that I picked, and that's going to be a plum dipping sauce. And both of the recipes, as usual, will be available on my blog site. The URL's below, www.mypicklesandjams.com. So go on there and you'll be able to get the recipe and make some of this for yourself. It is absolutely glorious. So till next time guys, goodbye.